It is the folks that have been buying up all the houses. It is the folks that have been buying up the apartments and using an algorithm to set rent so fucking high nobody can afford it. It is the people that refuse to pass legislation so that everybody can have access to safe, quality, affordable health care. It is the people that refuse to pass legislation that protects every single one of you from the shit that this government is doing right now. It is the people that refuse to call in a special session of Congress to rein in this executive branch that is violating every bit of the Constitution. It is those people. It is the daggone billionaires that will not pay you a living wage. It is the people that think that you should work a full-time job and not have benefits. It is the people that are tying your health to if you work for someone. And if you work for someone, they want you to work just 30 hours so that they don't have to give you benefits. And when they give you benefits, they want your damn premiums to be so high you can't afford them. They want your co-pays to make you go bankrupt. Don't talk to me about being mad at immigrants when you're not mad at the fucking billionaires and the ridiculous people that are running this country and running you into the ground.
Hey, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Danny Cook Show. I am your host, Danny Cook, and very grateful for you to be joining me today. This is the first time that I am doing the podcast, both audio and video. So for those of you who get to see it on video, yay, love that. And for those of you, I guess, who continue to listen and you continue to download it on whatever your favorite podcasting platform is, I appreciate you greatly. This is how we continue to grow the audience and continue to reach as many people as possible with accurate information, with facts, information, and also a different perspective than I think comes from maybe a lot of other people. My information isn't just about telling you what I think about something, although I do that, right? I do share my my opinion sometimes very strongly about things, but I also hope that what I'm doing is creating a space where people can get information to give themselves permission to think differently, to maybe challenge themselves, from the space that they've been in, and then finding a way for us to connect and to gain some understanding with each other so that we can, rebuild some of these bridges that we have within a very somewhat divided country, right? So this episode today is a continuation of something that I have been talking about on my lives for the last couple of days. And you might be saying, well, Danny, if you've been talking about it for a couple of days, why are you doing a podcast episode about it? And here's the reason. I think that, number one, I don't think the media is doing the best job of connecting all of these dots together. And number two, I think that the severity and the importance of what has been transpiring isn't adequately being represented, and people aren't really kind of getting it. So I think it's important that we don't just talk about something once or twice and then skip over it. I think it's important for us to connect all of the dots together. And so if you have been watching, then you know that what I'm referring to is the immigration case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And this particular case has gotten a lot of media attention, right? And you might be saying, well, what could you possibly have new to add to it? Well, I'll tell you what has happened. In this newest case, right? So his attorneys, he is back in the United States of America. For those of you all who do not know, he is in Tennessee awaiting charges on what they say is a quote unquote human smuggling charges from a traffic stop 3 years ago. Now, having said that, his attorneys have filed a lawsuit in Maryland, which is where he resides normally before they illegally deported him. And they are saying, listen, the court said that he needs to be brought back to the States, and he needs to be put back in the same condition that he would have been had he not been unlawfully deported to start with, which would mean getting him back to the state of Maryland. And so Judge Zennis is hearing this case, and a filing was put into the record on July the 2nd. And reading that filing, you get, or at least I know that I did, I got a much different look at what this case has been like, not only from 2025, but all the way back in 2019, the very first time he was questioned and taken into custody and went before an immigration judge. So what I'm going to do today is almost walk my water over. I'm going to share with you what this information says, and then I'm going to connect the dots to a completely separate but connected case that is also happening in court somewhere else. And that is a very significant whistleblower case from a former DOJ attorney. His name is Erez Reuveni, and he was the assistant or the acting deputy director, if you will, of OIL. And OIL is the Office of Immigration Litigation. And I'm going to share with you some things that are critical to his whistleblower lawsuit and to the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, along with the Venezuelans that were taken to CCOT. We're going to talk about all of this, and I hope that you stick with me. I have all the documents in front of me, so you might hear me rattle a paper or two. I might play a video clip or two. It just depends, because while I want to bring this to you, if we have time, I might also touch on my thoughts around a Democratic congressman and in a recent interview that he did on CNN. If you follow me on Substack, YouTube, or Facebook, or watch me live, you've probably heard my thoughts around this already, but I thought maybe if I have time, I will share them on the podcast. But anyway, all right. So for those of you all who do not know, I'm going to briefly give you the background of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and how he ended up in the United States of America, and how he ended up before an immigration judge in 2019, because that is when this stuff first began. But I want to take you all the way back to 2006. So in 2006, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the only country he has ever been a citizen of, and he's living there. And his family owns a small business there, and there are some gangs there, and the gangs are attempting to force his family um, to participate in extortion, right? It's, hey, you give us some money and we'll allow you to run your business here. You give us some money and we'll, I don't know, keep you safe. You know, we've seen the things, whether you've seen it in real life or whether you've seen it on TV. We all know that that these things happen in terms of, gangs and organized crime and things like that. So that's what was happening in 2006 in El Salvador. And so when his family would not participate in the extortion, the gang began to terrorize their family. That included sometimes beating up Kilmar Abrego Garcia. That included threatening his family. That including threatening his life. All of those things. So in 2011, Kilmar Abrego Garcia makes his way into the United States of America without inspection. Now, I want to go ahead and stop right there, because this is where everybody goes, they're illegals. He's an illegal. He shouldn't be here. Blah, 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 blah. So let's be clear about what it means to enter the United States of America without inspection. That is covered under Title VIII, which is our immigration law that is wildly outdated and in dire need of revamping. But 8 USC 1325, that is the law that covers immigrants coming into this country without inspection. You will find that it is very similar to having a misdemeanor on your record. The civil penalty is you might get fined somewhere between $50 to $250. It's not a felony. It's not you're a horrible person. It doesn't indicate anything about who you are as a person, other than you believe that what is necessary for your life and the life of your family, that you need to get into the United States of America. And you are willing to do so in whatever way you can make happen, right? I have said this before and I will say it again. If you have ever said the words, I would kill for my child, or I would die for my child, then you absolutely understand why undocumented, unauthorized immigrants will take the risks that they do to protect themselves and to protect their families. If you've said that, you will understand it. And if you say that you don't, I don't believe you. So anyway, so he gets here into the United States of America without inspection. He then makes his way to Maryland. Maryland is where his brother lives, and his brother is a United States citizen. And that's where he is, right? And he gets work, and he lives his life, and he meets people, and he makes friends. And he's completely out of trouble, right? We don't hear of him. He's never been arrested by the police. Like nothing's happened. And then in 2019, well, let me stop. Over that time, he meets a lady, and that lady is now his current wife. But when they meet, they begin to become friends. They get close, and they move in together. Now, she has two children from a previous relationship that Abrego Garcia treats as if they are his own, and they eventually move in together and become a little family, a little nuclear family, with him, his girlfriend, and these two boys. These two children. I don't know if they're boys or not, but these two children. So fast forward, we're now in 2019. Okay. And in 2019, Kilmar Abrego Garcia goes to the Home Depot to solicit work. Now, we all know what that means. If you live, especially in, some of the cities and things like that, you will often find unauthorized immigrants that are at Home Depot and Lowe's or certain places around town where they are willing to do day labor, right? So that they can provide for their families. And so he had gone to Lowe's in Hyattsville, Maryland to do this very thing. And when he gets there, there's like three guys up there that he has seen at Lowe's at Home Depot before, but he doesn't really like know them other than they come there for day labor. Okay. And so while they're up there, a Hyattsville police officer approaches one of those three other men. And he doesn't talk to anybody else, just the one of the three other men that are there. And so while they're having this discussion, all of a sudden, some Prince George County, PG County police officers arrive on the scene. And they promptly arrest all four individuals. Now, I want you to remember that I said this occurred at Home Depot. It was around like 2:30 in the afternoon, something like that. And he is taken into custody by Prince George PD. And then he's taken back to the station where they are put in separate rooms and they are questioned individually, right? And so they're being asked about gang affiliation, right? Are you in a gang? And do you know people who are in a gang? And Kilmar Abrego Garcia has even showed these photographs of him out in public. And they're like, well, who is that with you? And who is that with you? And he's like, I don't know. And they're like, listen, if you cooperate, we'll even let you go. And he said, well, that would be great. Except guess what? I don't know anything. Now, y'all do understand that I'm paraphrasing. This is the Danny interpretation of it all. But the facts are the same, right? You can read this. By the way, you can read this entire filing by his attorneys in my link tree. So if you follow me on social media and you go to my profiles, you click that link tree, it will be in the collection of documents for Kilmar Abrego Garcia. All right. So they are asking him all these questions and he doesn't have anything to offer them. And they say, well, ICE is coming to get you. And sure enough, ICE does come and they take him into custody. Now, he gets an attorney, right? His family gets an attorney and they begin to move for him to get bond. And when they submit this filing to the court, it is 70 pages of a filing saying, hey, this guy is he's a good guy. He's a family man. He works. He takes care of his family. He's not gotten in any trouble, blah, 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 whatever. And at this time, this is what's interesting is at this time, ICE says they oppose that change in status. And the reason why they oppose that change in status is because they say that he is a danger to the community because they say that the local PD has, quote unquote, verified that he is an active member of a gang, and that he is an active member of specifically MS-13, and the clique that he's talking about, the kind of the group within MS-13 is the Westerns. Okay, so this is their claim. Now, here's what happens after that. His attorney says, okay, I would like to see the incident report and, the evidence that you have that says he is such a thing. Okay. Which, I would think that that's reasonable. Wouldn't you all think that that's reasonable? He should be able to see that information. Well, here's what's funny is when that happens, Prince George County says, we don't have anything. We don't have an incident report of anything happening at the Home Depot on that day. Can you imagine? You don't have what? You don't have any documentation about this incident that happened at Home Depot in which my client was arrested and brought to your police station where ICE retrieved him from. You don't have an incident report about that? Well, that's interesting. How in the world does that happen? And so, so here's what they said. I said, well, here's what we have. I said, we have a, what's called a GFIS, which is a gang field interview sheet. And it was generated by the Prince George PD, which, okay. So this is the reason the gang field interview sheet said that he was a gang member. Is it said that he was wearing a Chicago Bulls jersey? Oh, I'm lying. A Chicago Bulls hat and a hoodie. And then they said a confidential informant of some sort said that he was this active member of MS-13 in the Western clique. So that's what ICE offered to the court. This gang field interview sheet that said he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat, a hoodie, and a confidential informant said that he was a member of MS-13 of the Westerns clique. Now, it was entered into the Prince George Police Department's database at 6:47 p.m. on the same day that he was arrested. Now, allow me to pause right there and let's connect a few dots. So, you're saying to me that this sheet that tells you he's a gang member that should be arrested was generated 4 hours and 20 minutes after you met him for the first time? What? Wouldn't you need to have the sheet first? I mean, you would think so, right? Now, I'm not saying that something is up, but I'm just saying something's probably up. So anyway, the attorney, his attorney talks to the Department of Justice and the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. And guess what, guys? The Westerns clique that he's supposedly a member of operates out of Brentwood, Long Island, in the state of New York, where Kilmar Abrego Garcia has never, ever lived. Okay, then. All right. So this is where things get a little wonky. And the attorney says, all right, listen, you don't have an incident report. You've got this sheet that was generated in your office 4 hours and change after you met my client. Let me check with the Hyattsville Police Department because they were the first ones to encounter my client. And so he reaches out to the Hyattsville City Police Department, and guess what they said? They said, oh yeah, we got an incident report, but it's only got 3 people's names on it, and none of them belong to your client. So nobody has a record of my client in their system except for this one sheet that was generated 4.5 hours after you all met him. Got it. And this is where it gets crazy because the attorney says, okay, well then you know what? I'm going to contact the Prince George County Police Department's Inspector General. And I'm going to ask to talk to the detective that created this sheet. I want to talk to the officer who generated this gang field interview sheet, right? And he does, and then he's told, well, the officer is not available because he's been suspended for for passing confidential information to a sex worker. The attorney then says, okay, cool. Let me talk to some other officers in the gang unit. And his request is denied. And Kilmar Abrego Garcia's bond is also denied. And he is forced to stay at Howard Detention. So, fast forward, we're now at June 25th, 2019. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is in Howard Detention Center. He is waiting for his hearing, which would be before an immigration judge. Now, that hearing was broken up over 2 days. And it wasn't until August the 9th and September the 27th. So his girlfriend that he lives with is pregnant, and she has a high-risk pregnancy because of a pre-existing condition. They want to get married before the baby's born. So on June 25th in 2019, they are married in Howard Detention Center because his bond was denied, and he could not be there with her any other way. So on August 9th, they have the first part of his hearing. August 11th, his son is born. He does not get to witness the birth of his son because he is still in the detention center. And his son is born with an underdeveloped ear. They come to find out later that he is in fact deaf in that one ear. He also has a speech disorder, which makes him nonverbal. He's later diagnosed to be autistic and intellectually disabled. So that's his son, who he did not get to see be born because of this one sheet that was generated 4 hours after they met him. I think that's just a really important, it's a really important piece of information that we should all keep repeating. So he filed at this time, this is when he files all the stuff to go before the immigration judge. He filed the 589, which is an application for asylum. That was denied because you have to file for asylum within 12 months of being here. He also filed for withholding of removal, and then he filed for CAT, which is Convention Against Torture. And he did that with the Baltimore Immigration Court, and this is when he's scheduled for his hearings, right? So he goes through the hearings, and they submitted a subpoena trying to get the detectives to come, but none of those things happened. Okay, he goes August 9th, appears before his hearing. He goes September 27th, appears before the judge for his hearing. He is granted withholding of removal, which means that he has proven that it is more likely than not that he would be persecuted if he were returned to El Salvador. And so he is given withholding of removal from El Salvador. And part of the conditions is that, okay, that's good for 10 years. And he has to check in with ICE every single year, which I did not know that part. Prior to reading this court filing, I did not know that he had checked in with ICE every single year. And I damn sure didn't know that he had checked in on July the 2nd of this year. So ICE had him July 2nd, 2025. If he really was this danger to the community, wouldn't they not have kept him in custody then? If somebody suspected him of human smuggling or whatever, wouldn't ICE have just kept him then, right? But they don't. He goes and he goes to this ICE thing on October the 2nd, and it was eventless, and he goes back home and everything is fine. And then fast forward. So I want to tell you what happens March 12th of 2025. Okay. So on March 12th of 2025, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is at work. And at this stage of the game, you guys, he is checking in with ICE every single year. He is a first-year sheet metal apprentice. He's a member of a union, and he's attending the University of Maryland to become a licensed sheet metal worker. He and his wife are working to support their 3 children, and they're just living life, right? So March 12th comes. He finishes his shift. He leaves work and he goes to pick up his 5-year-old son from his grandmother's house. Remember, this is the child that is deaf in one ear, nonverbal, autistic, intellectually disabled. Okay. And this 5-year-old baby is in the backseat of the car. And when Kilmar Abrego Garcia is driving, ICE pulls him over. And the only thing that ICE says to him is, your status has changed. Changed to what? Changed why? Changed how? Like, what do you mean? And they would tell him nothing else. He is handcuffed in front of his child. He is put into one of those ICE vehicles. His wife is called and told she has 10 minutes to get there and get their son, or he will be given over to CPS, to Child Protective Services. Can you imagine such a thing? So she comes, she gets her son. She's allowed to talk to Kilmar just briefly. He is distraught. He is crying. He is confused, all of which is justifiable at this point. I'm surprised he's not absolutely like, oh my God, can you imagine? I keep saying, can you imagine? Because I absolutely cannot imagine. So no one had revoked his status. It didn't happen. The Executive Association Commissioner hadn't revoked his status. ICE had not moved to reopen his case and get his withholding of removal terminated. None of those things happened. By the way, when he was granted the withholding of removal in 2019, they didn't even appeal it then. ICE did not even bother to appeal it then. So what the hell is the problem in 2025? All right. So this is where I get pissed, and both, not that I wasn't already. That's not true. Okay. So here's the thing. This is where both of these two stories are happening at the same time. And I want you to know that so that you can picture what's happening to Kilmar Abrego Garcia while the Department of Justice is committing illegal acts towards the federal court. And the reason I can say that with with just such certainty is because when this DOJ attorney filed this whistleblower case, he was prepared. That joker has text messages. He has emails. He was about his business, and I am here for it. And now let me just go ahead and give you a little foreshadowing. A name that you're going to want to remember in this story is Emil Bove. And the reason you're going to want to know this name is because that man is actually going through a confirmation hearing right now in Congress to become an appellate judge in the Fourth Circuit. When you hear what he did, you will be like, absolutely not, hell no. And I'm with you on that, which is why when you hear this, I want you to get off of here and start contacting the members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, the members of the House Judiciary Committee, your representatives in Congress who are going to have the final vote. This man, number one, not only should he not be an appellate judge, in my opinion, I believe he should be in jail. And I hope and pray that that's a thing that happens. Not that I wish bad things upon people, but I do believe in accountability, and that's what applies in this case. So here we go. I just want to, let me finish this part and then we're going to go to the other one. All right. So check this out. So here's what happens. The ICE people have him in custody in 2025. He's told that his status has changed. He has no idea what that means or why that's happened. And he's, he's being asked again about gang stuff, shown all the stuff again, and none of that matters because he's not in a gang. Okay, so he's then asked to sign documents without adequate explanation as to what those documents are. Now, this court filing doesn't say what they are, but I would imagine it's part of the record. So what we know is between March 12th and March 15th, he's moved around a little bit. They believe he was taken to Louisiana at one point, and then eventually he ends up in Texas. Now, throughout this entire time, he is saying to people, listen, people, I have judiciary relief. I need to speak to an ICE officer. I need to speak to a judge. I have legal right to be here right now, and you all must have me mistaken. And he is falsely told by ICE guards that when he arrives in Texas, he will go before a judge. That is not a thing that happens, nor is it a thing that was gonna happen. And so, anyway, so this is what's happening between March 12th and March 15th. She immediately begins to try to find him in the ICE detainee locator tool, and she's not successful in doing that. But this is where we are. So I want you to fast forward to March 15th, where we know that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is in Texas, and here's what happens. So he gets down there, and he is again saying, hey, I need to go before an immigration judge. And this is the first time he overhears guards that are saying that he's going to be going to El Salvador and to CCOT. He hears it for the first time, and he's like, what in the absolute hell? So at 11 a.m. on that morning, March 15th, 2025, he calls his wife frantically, urgently saying, you got to get a hold of my mom. I'm being deported to El Salvador, where my family is. You need to tell them I'm coming so that they can get an attorney and they can come get me, right? Because they've been lying to me. I'm not going to see an immigration judge. This is what's happening. All right. Now I'm gonna put, well, not quite. So there's a few things that happen in between that, but I want to get you to the point to where he arrives in El Salvador. Okay, because he's taken that day. Actually, he's taken the next Sunday morning on the 16th. All right. And this caravan takes them all to the airport, and he immediately, he's repeatedly asking for a judicial review. He doesn't get it. He's going to El Salvador on the 16th. Okay. Or the morning of the 15th, 16th, whichever one. So, on Sunday, March 16th, his wife is sent a photo from a news article, with a picture of all of these men that are alleged Venezuelan gang members with their heads shaved, and their heads bowed with their arms over their head. Their faces aren't visible, but guess what? His wife, Jennifer, is inspecting these photos, and Kilmar Abrego Garcia happens to have two very unique scars on his skull. And by that, she is able to identify him. She is able to identify him later when another video is shown, and they are shown frog walking men to their cells. I cannot fathom what she, as a wife and a mother, must have been thinking and feeling at that point. By the way, just so you all know, she's also a U.S. citizen, right? So his brother is, so is she. So that's where we are. And the staff had kept telling her that he left on Sunday. That he left on Saturday, but he left on Sunday, I guess. But it was still showing him in the ICE detainee tool, was still showing him there like for several days after, which again, it's just a mess. So his family in El Salvador does hire a lawyer, and that lawyer is able to confirm he is at CCOT. Okay. It's important to know that no criminal charges were ever levied upon him, not before he was deported and not by El Salvador when he was there. Interesting, right? because they do check all of the people that came in, the Salvadorians, they check all of them for gang tattoos, all of them. So I want to share with you some of the things that are conditions at CCOT, because I'm sure that many of you have heard that it is a very horrible place. It is known for its torture of the people staying there. But just to give you an idea, there were 261 total non-citizens that were deported to El Salvador. 238 were Venezuelans and 23 were Salvadorian nationals, including Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Okay. Without going through due process at all. At all. So they get to CCOT, and he's the first one to deboard the plane. He's immediately, shoved into his seat, and anytime he tries to raise his head, he gets hit. Things you should know about CCOT. Each of their 256 cells is designed to hold 80 people. But often it holds nearly double that number. The cramped cells are equipped with tiered metal bunks without mattresses, 2 basins for washing, and 2 open toilets. That's it. I think previously on my live, I might have said 1 toilet. 2 basins, 2 toilets, and up to 160 men with metal bunks, no mattresses. There are no windows. There are no fans. There are no air conditioning. And this is El Salvador. So they're confined to their cell 23.5 hours every day, and they are not allowed to go outdoors. They are denied access to reading materials, including letters from friends or family. They are prohibited from receiving visits from friends or family. Meals are provided through the bars, and they enforced strict regulations in order to maintain order. So there is a leading human rights organization in El Salvador called Cristasol. In May of 2023, they released a comprehensive report detailing the things that happen inside of CCOT. And one of the things that it said in there is that between March 27th of 2022 and March 27th of 2023, 153 inmates died at CCOT. 153 inmates in 1 year. So I feel like it's necessary for us to take 153, divide it by 12. That gets us 12.75. So you are talking 12 to 13 people dying every month at CCOT in that 1 year, which means you are averaging 2 to 3 deaths every week. So what is that? Not quite every other damn day. And this is where this guy is, who has only ever been in the system because of one damn sheet of paper that was generated 4.5 hours after the police ever met him, who all he's done is work, get married, take care of his family, and live. I'm so sick of people not having any compassion, not having any empathy, and exchanging the word undocumented immigrant or unauthorized immigrant with criminal, because they are not the same thing. As a matter of fact, American citizens are more likely, way more likely to commit crime in this country than unauthorized immigrants. Do you know why we know that makes sense? Besides the surveys and the stats and the data and everything we have to back it up, do you know why that just makes good damn sense? Because folks, if they commit crimes, they get deported. They want to do everything possible to avoid the police. Do you know that there are actually people, for example, in Miami, that target unauthorized immigrants because they believe they won't call the police. They believe they won't seek medical help. They believe they won't do those things because they are unauthorized. It just stands to reason these people want to stay out of trouble. Use your brains, people. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Those 153 people that died, and I think it's important to call them people, right? Not just inmates, people. Many of the reasons that were listed for their deaths is torture, beatings, mechanical asphyxiation, strangulation, right? And lack of medical attention. Autopsies revealed common patterns of lacerations, hematomas, sharp object wounds, and signs of choking or strangulation. Survivors reported being forced to pick food off the floor with their mouths, being subjected to electric shocks, and exposed to untreated skin fungus epidemics. Krista Saul's director has emphasized that these systemic violations have pretty much become state policy. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia reports that he was subjected to severe mistreatment upon arrival at CCOT, included but not limited to severe beatings, severe sleep deprivation, inadequate nutrition, and psychological torture. When he exited the aircraft in El Salvador, still in chains, 2 officials grabbed him by the arms and pushed him down the stairs, forcing his head down. The whole place, even though they arrived at night, the whole place was lit up with bright lights, right? So they arrived the evening of the 15th, just so you know. He was pushed towards a bus, forcibly seated, and fitted with a second set of chains and handcuffs. He was repeatedly struck by officers when he attempted to raise his head, and he observed an ICE agent on the bus communicating with Salvadorian officials to confirm the identities of the Salvadorian nationals on board before the bus departed. When they arrived at CCOT, they were greeted by a prison official who stated, quote, "Welcome to CCOT. Whoever enters here doesn't leave." He was then forced to strip, issued prison clothing, and subjected to physical abuse, including being kicked in the legs with boots, struck on his head and arms to make him change clothes faster. His head was shaved with a zero razor. He was frog marched to cell 15 and being struck with wooden batons along the way. And by the following day, he had visible bruises and lumps all over his body. Inside cell 15, Abrego Garcia and 20 other Salvadorians were forced to kneel from approximately 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., with guards striking anyone who fell from exhaustion. During this time, he was denied bathroom access and soiled himself. They were confined to those metal bunks with no mattresses in an overcrowded cell with no lights, with no windows, bright lights that remained on 24 hours a day. For those of y'all who do not know, that is a torture tactic, and minimal access to sanitation. After 1 week at CCOT, prison director Osiris Luna and other officials separated those 21 Salvadorians who had arrived together. 12 individuals with visible gang-related tattoos were moved to another cell, while Abrego Garcia remained with 8 others who, like him, had no gang affiliations or tattoos. As reflected by his segregation, guess what, y'all? Salvadorian authorities agree he's not affiliated with any gang. And they actually even told him explicitly that his tattoos were not gang related because they said, quote unquote, "Your tattoos are fine." I just need y'all to remember that during all of this, the United States of America, the DOJ, the Attorney General, they are making all of these horrendous claims about this man. They are saying he's never coming back. They are saying not ever under this administration. They are saying the most horrendous things while this is happening to a human being that simply was working and taking care of his family. I just need y'all to get that. During his first 2 weeks at CCOT, his physical condition significantly deteriorated, including he lost approximately 31 pounds in 2 weeks. He went from about 215 pounds to 184 pounds. On April 9th, guess what happened? Him and 4 others were transferred to a different module in CCOT, where they were photographed with mattresses and better food, photos that appeared to be staged to document improved conditions. And then the next day, he was transferred by himself to the Centro Industrial Prison Facility in Santa Ana, El Salvador. He was frequently hidden from visitors there and told to remain in a separate room whenever outside visitors entered the facility. He was not allowed to talk to his family or his lawyer the entire time that he was there. And on the 17th, 1 week later, after he was sent to this entirely different facility, that is when Senator Van Hollen came to visit him. I think that it goes without question that he was taken to that other facility specifically in preparation for the visit from the senator, so that his bruises and things could heal and he could get different clothing and all of those types of things. So I think that this is going to have to be a 2-part podcast. And the reason why is this whistleblower case that ties into all of this takes pretty much the same amount of time to tell you everything. So here's what I will say. Make sure that you listen and download this episode. Make sure that you are ready for the second episode so that you can hear all about this whistleblower case that was submitted June the 24th in 2025, that parts of it, these text messages and these emails are being used on the floor of Congress for Emil Bove's confirmation hearings right now. So it's unquestionable that everybody needs to hear about this. I'm going to do my best to make sure that you do your best to make sure that you share this information with other people and that you are following me everywhere, right? Everywhere. I mean, no, not at my home, but follow me everywhere online, right? So I am at the Danny Cook, and that is on TikTok, Substack, YouTube, and Facebook, the Book of Faces, if you will, and Blue Sky. The podcast, as you are listening right now, is The Danny Cook Show. Make sure that you share it far and wide. If you believe that what we do here, what I do with you, is valuable, if you benefit from this information, make sure that you share it, folks. This is how we are going to hold the people that are in office accountable. This is how we are going to build connection, by sharing facts, by standing in truth, and by creating a welcoming space for one another where we can gain understanding, if not agreement, and where we can build connection. So I appreciate you. Until next time, take care of you.